Hello everyone, welcome back to Flying Prist. Now this is a video in a style I don't usually do. You wouldn't usually see my face here. However, recently a video came to my attention titled Suffering is Meaningless and Has No Purpose from Riri Dirja, I think. I apologize if I pronounced that name incorrectly. Now, I kid you not, the second I saw the title and thumbnail, I immediately knew this was just another theist who confuses atheism with nihilism. Because if there's one thing theism hates, it's happy people who don't believe in God. And so I clicked in the video, and I was pleasantly surprised at how it was exactly what I predicted. If only they'd learned something new. But well, when you base your entire worldview on a 2000-year-old book, new stuff isn't exactly what you focus on. So let us begin this response to suffering is meaningless and has no purpose. Now before we begin, two things I want you to keep in mind. Firstly, we attack ideas here, not people. If any of you go there and make a scene, you will automatically lose my support. Secondly, if you think I may have misinterpreted some of the views here, be sure to visit the original video. The link to it is in the description. But don't be rude. I'll be rude enough in this video. So let us begin.
Atheism is an idea that there is no God, no divine, and no supernatural power governing the universe. This viewpoint has grown in popularity, especially in this modern era. Why? Because science has advanced rapidly and many people believe that the existence of God is no longer necessary to explain the mysteries of the universe.
All in all, that's a fair definition of atheism. Though I have to say, atheism doesn't just draw from science. Atheists have their own flavor of philosophy and ethics as well. Ideas that often get ignored for no reason whatsoever.
Some people believe that being an atheist offers freedom from religious dogma and outdated traditions.
Atheism does offer freedom from religious dogma and outdated traditions, by definition. I don't know why you would put the some people believe part in front of a true statement.
Is atheism really the solution to modern humanity's main problems, like suffering, sadness, and moral confusion?
The answer is no. Atheism by itself only answers one question. The question being, does one or more gods exist? Answering that with no is atheism's only purpose. However, atheists and atheistic philosophers have proposed solutions to suffering, sadness, and moral confusion.
Or is it a delusion of freedom? Or Richard Dawkins is probably delusional.
What was that sentence? Is atheism the solution to modern humanity's problems, or is it a delusion of freedom? Or Richard Dawkins is probably delusional? That's not how sentences work.
Life is full of suffering. It is something that every person goes through. Whether there is God or there is no God, suffering exists. And this is where atheism fails. How are we supposed to understand suffering if we don't believe in God?
Simple. Suffering comes from the failure of humanity to help each of its members, because humanity is so fond of dividing itself into groups which only inflict or intensify the suffering on one another. And while we may try to separate suffering from humanity and look at it through an objective lens when studying it, it is important to look at it through a fundamentally human lens and see that, damn, shit is bad. We should probably fix it.
Suffering is random in an atheistic viewpoint. It's a result of randomness, of being born in the wrong location at the wrong time, and of living in a world ruled by coincidence.
No, suffering is not purely randomness. Yes, being born in the wrong location and at the wrong time is random, but what happens after birth is not random. In fact, we as a society can control whether the time after birth is spent in happiness or suffering. Sure, on a galactic time scale it won't matter, but why look at it from this weirdly faraway objective lens, which is still not objective because humans have a tendency to put more stress on the bad part than the good part. Why not look at our society through a human lens? To look at this world and be proud of what we have achieved and yearn for what we haven't.
Suffering, however, has a special significance for those who pursue God. It's important for them. It's not coincidence. The faith in a loving, all-powerful God provides an explanation for suffering as well as a glimmer of hope.
Quite opposite, actually. This is called the problem of evil, which can be summarized as if God is omnipotent and if God is good, why does God let evil exist? Why does God let his most prized creation, humanity, suffer?
In Christianity, for example, suffering is viewed through the perspective of Jesus Christ's own suffering and sacrifice. Because he has personal experience with human suffering, he is God who understands it.
And even after he understands it, he still lets it exist. Quite a sadistic God you have.
What is the point of life and suffering?
Suffering has no point. That's why we should work towards ending all suffering. And the point of one's life is to be decided by themselves and not imposed upon them.
Perhaps one day scientific or technological developments will put an end to human suffering. Probably, if that's possible.
It is possible. No suffering is beyond our ability to remove it.
Or, probably, we will still swallow the reality and accept that there is no meaning in the universe for us at all. It's just random shit. It's pointless. It's meaningless. It's nothing.
Am I the only one weirded out by this obsession with meaning or purpose in this universe? That we humanity are not strong enough for some reason and to give life our own meaning, to give the universe our own meaning. Why is it that we are looking for our purpose instead of creating our own purpose?
Atheism frequently promotes a materialistic worldview, which believes that happiness can only be attained through materialistic achievement and that the physical world is all that exists.
Incorrect. Atheism makes no such claim. Atheists have different ideas about how to live their life, but some of which aren't materialistic, which in itself is a problematic term because the material world is important. Go without food or water for a couple days and you'll be hoping for material, praying for it even. It is a necessity.
However, this approach misses the more profound questions such as, what is the meaning of life?
Life has no objective meaning. You assign your life your own meaning because you are in charge of your own life.
Why am I here?
You are here because of your parents. If you want to go further back, you can trace humanity or Homo sapiens in the evolutionary tree of life, all the way back to Luca, or last universal common ancestor.
What happens when we die?
Your consciousness ceases to exist just like how the sound of a bell ceases when it stops ringing. But you live on in a metaphorical sense through the memories of all those around you, just like the sound of the bell lives on through the memory of those who heard it even after the bell stops ringing. Side note, here I do not mean to say that we have all the answers, but to say that we have enough answers for the big questions and do not need a God to answer the question. The key is not to lose the curiosity, but to use it.
Morality is often seen in an atheistic worldview as a result of social norm or human evolution. It is argued that our moral actions such as caring for others and avoiding destruction from the society evolved because it was useful to our species' survival.
That is the most likely explanation of where morality comes from. I mean, other social animals like chimps and monkeys display their own complex morality system, so it must have been a natural consequence of evolution.
According to this theory, morality is subjective and relative. There are no objective moral truth. What is considered good or wrong changes according to society, time, and individual perspective.
Sort of. Human morality doesn't change that much when going through multiple cultures. I mean, just compare any two religions currently present in the world. For example, Bible's Exodus 20:12 saying, "Honor thy father and thy mother," which is almost identical to, forgive me for my terrible pronunciation, Quran's Surah Al-An'am 6:151 saying, "Do not fail to honor your parents," which is also the same as Taittiriya Upanishad 1:11:2 saying, "Treat your mother like a god, treat your father like a god." And I'm sure something like this exists in basically every religion known to man. Not to mention all the other common themes such as justice, non-violence, peace, charity, etc. Now, why would that be the case if every single culture had a different morality?
Although this makes sense on the outside, it raises an important question. Can we really say that anything is objectively evil if morality is just a social construct? Who is to tell which civilization is correct if some believes marrying children or sacrificing babies for deities is okay, but another tradition or belief think it's wrong?
Funny how both the examples you showed were societies that claimed to have their morality derived from divinity, not from atheism. If your argument is for a morality from divinity or God, you should be in support of these societies, or at least show that their divinity or God is false while yours is true. Also, about the child marriage thingy, you should know that the decrease in that is not because of acceptance of some new God. The religion is the same. Instead, we have changed certain aspects of its morality to make it better, which begs the question, how can we change the morality if the gods remain the same? It's almost as if morality isn't tied to divinity or God, and doing so just causes more problems. And most importantly, morality isn't objective. Is the lion evil for killing a deer to feed his starving children, or is the deer evil to try to run away back to its own home? Are the flowers evil for deceiving a bee into helping it procreate, or is the bee evil for collecting nectar to make honey for its own personal gain? Is the river evil for drowning animals not fit for swimming in it, or are those animals evil for trying to conquer territory that was never theirs to begin with? See, nature doesn't do good or evil, nature just is. There is no objective good or evil in the world. For humans, however, we have agreed that a collective subjective morality is as good as an objective one, at least when dealing with humans only.
Atheistic morality is like building a home on shifting sand. It may last for a while, but it lacks a solid foundation. It's simple to see how this could result in moral chaos where anything is okay as long as it's embraced by the majority.
There is no instance of an educated consensus ever creating a self-destructive morality. And even if there was, don't you think that would eventually destroy their society? Going with the house metaphor, if someone believed that God told them that a house on one single stilt is good enough to stand, and they just kept building houses like that, these houses would keep on collapsing, and the person might just think that their God is testing them to see if they have faith or not. And herein lies the main problem with theistic morality. How will you learn from mistakes if you already think you know everything? Atheists know that there will be situations where today's morality just doesn't work. In fact, since the Bible is so damn old, we already see many situations where that morality doesn't work. Think abortion, LGBTQ issues, or heck, even slavery. Yes, Bible condones slavery at Ephesians 6:5 and 1 Timothy 6:1. And we ignore it because of course we do. Morality needs changing. Theistic morality locks itself in the same place.
For example, the moral principles of Christianity are built on love.
Genesis 7:23. So he destroyed all living things which were on the face of the ground.
Love for God and love for others.
Both man and cattle, creeping thing and bird of the air, they were destroyed from the earth. Seems like loving God to me.
That's the reason why most atheists or people who lived in Islamic country prefer to live in Western civilization in Christian countries, because the foundation is clear: love for others.
You almost cut this part out, but since you didn't do it properly, read this sentence, please. As difficulties about security and economy increase, more people in Turkey say that they would like to live in ... The issue is security and economy, not morality. I imagine you read these things before showing them in your video, so I don't know why you didn't catch it. Or maybe you just assume that nobody else is actually going to read this. Also, saying that Islam doesn't have a clear moral founding just shows that you don't know what you're talking about. Islam's moral founding is the same as Christianity. So by saying Islam lacks foundation, you're also saying that Christianity lacks foundation, which I assume wasn't your intention.
It is not uncommon for anyone, including famous atheists, to eventually come to believe in God.
That's called the bandwagon fallacy. That, hey, most other popular atheists are doing it, which they aren't, so why don't you do it? What? I don't think I need to explain how popularity is not a measure of truth and that critical thinking ought to be held above everyone else is doing it.
So, why atheism is not the answer for modern society? Because it still leaves us grappling with suffering without hope or meaning.
Quite the contrary, as we discussed. Atheism is the fundamental component of all change, and it is change that ends suffering. People can fantasize about what the next world is going to look like all they want, but under no circumstances should that be held above this world.
In a world full of suffering, randomness, and chaos, atheism offers no deeper purpose. Just the cold reality that suffering is meaningless or pointless, that life itself is meaningless. It's just random shit and coincidence.
I think this attitude of trying to find some deeper divine meaning behind suffering instead of just seeing suffering for what it is, a problem, and trying to fix the suffering is far more depressing than nihilism. Why do we feel the need to remove human agency when we are talking about the universe? Sure, the universe before humanity was random shit and coincidence. But that is not the case now, especially on this planet Earth in human scale. We have the steering wheel, so it's time for us to stop wishing for Jesus to take the wheel, and it is time to take the matter into our own hands.
Atheism also fails to provide a basic foundation for morality. As a result, morality becomes subjective and relative. Our moral framework is fragile and subject to cultural changes.
As it should be, so we can adapt quickly and effectively to new scenarios and thus ensure the survival of our species.
However, humans have a natural need for something more. We need objective moral standard that serves as a guide for life and transcends both time and culture.
We think we need some objective moral standard, but as I have demonstrated earlier, it will lead to problems in the future. The best plan for us is to have a communal or a societal subjective morality, so it will not change on the whims of any random person, but it will change when the need arises.
Our moral compass and our purpose are found in God, because no matter where you live, people are looking for solutions, pursuit of truth and meaning.
I've never understood this obsession with purpose. How can any self-respecting human think that they cannot give their own life a purpose themselves and instead need a purpose given to them from above? Imagine having a purpose, no free will, no chance for you to do your own thing, nothing you can accomplish except this purpose, that you have no choices or all your choices have already been made, that you are nothing more than some tool in some creator's great plan. How do you deal with this kind of depressing idea? If you still want a purpose, let me give you one. To make this world a better place. That's your purpose. You might notice it is quite open to interpretation. That's the point.
And when you are hungry for the truth and meaning, you will automatically land on God. And it is in God that we discover not just the answer, but also the hope that gets us through a world that is often unpleasant and complex.
Notice the word choice used here, that gets us through this world. Because that's what this really is. Inaction. Because acting on one's own to remove suffering is uncomfortable. So we comfort ourselves with the thought that, hey, if they follow our God, they'll eventually be happy. Suffering is the result of failure of humanity to let its own humans live. Notions of a peaceful afterlife in heaven is just simply deflecting the problem. With no God or person in charge of humanity or the world, as far as we are aware, us humans naturally need to step up to that position and reduce suffering to a minimum, so that eventually Earth becomes something even greater than heaven. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like this video, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. If you have some points you want to discuss, be sure to leave a comment and I'd love to talk about it. And I must say, I like this commentary style, and I might do future videos like this. Not responses, but just videos of me talking about my thoughts on things. Actually, that's a pretty cool title. Thinking about things with Flying Prist. Tell me in the comments if you be interested in something like that. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.